My dear, you're hearing this for a reason, so listen up. Hello, gals, and welcome to Sobriety Snippets for Ambitious Women Over 40. I'm Becca Jacobson, and I'm here to deliver a snippet. Gals, it's Monday, and we are still, thank God, in the midst of our study of James Allen's beautiful little book, As a Man Thinketh. If you haven't been with us, don't run away and scream. Bear with me, babe. Listen, there are no coincidences. I do not believe in them. They don't exist. You're hearing this for a reason. Today, you hopped on, you tapped the link, and there's a reason. So let's find out what the reason is for you. Each of us will get an individual message. Cool, eh? Okay, we are looking at James Allen's book from 1903, As a Man Thinketh. We are in the middle of a study of thoughts. And in fact, we talk about thoughts a lot here on the snippets because how we think changes our lives. And in fact, we can change our thinking to change our drinking. So this is really important. If you're curious about what we've looked at so far, go back the last 4 Mondays. We've looked at Allen's book, and today we're on the section called Visions and Ideals. Oh my God, last week I was every Monday, I'm like, oh my God, this is the important one. Gals, like, you just won't believe this section. It's unbelievable. Okay. And, as I said, there's no coincidences. Right now, today, when I'm recording this, I am nearing the end of a 7-day sobriety sprint live with a group of women who decided to join me. You can call it a challenge, a sprint, call it what you will. And we're going together through 7 days of sobriety. And I'm walking them through some of the foundational teachings of a sober, happy life, of a journey to self-discovery, which is what sobriety really is. And bear with me, I'm getting there. I'm getting to the point. And today I mentioned to them about having a purpose, about putting down the bottle and beginning to feel so good that you realize you want to discover what's possible with what you have left of this life. We've wasted enough time with alcohol. And so when I picked up the James Allen book to continue the study and record this for you, I was not surprised, but very excited to see that he's talking about ideals and visions. He's essentially talking in this section about why we're here and how we get what we want out of life. So let's have a look at what James says. I'm not going to read the whole section, but like all the other sections, this one's very short, but man, is it powerful. Listen to this, gals. Quote, "Cherish your visions. Cherish your ideals. Cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built." Gals, what he's telling us, and has been all along, we know by now, is that our thoughts, the way we think, will build the life around us. And that's exactly what I was talking about today and with the gals, and I talk about it, as I said, a lot. The life that we are living is built by our thoughts. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions attract more emotions like magnets. So if we're walking around angry, we're going to attract angry situations. If we're walking around sad, we're going to attract sad situations. And it all starts with what we're thinking. So this is very important. James Allen is saying to us, cherish those ideals, because as you remain true to them, your world will at last be built. So if you want a sober, happy life, have you been visualizing it, thinking about it? Is it your ideal? Are you cherishing the vision of your journey to sobriety, or are you just afraid of it? I think one of the biggest reasons most of us stumble and wait and have to strive for so long is that we can't even imagine living alcohol-free. We're afraid. I was terrified. If we can't envision the life we want, we certainly can't have it. And so to approach sobriety out of fear is we've already got a lot against us, right? So we have to be able to look at sobriety as something that we cherish, something that we want, something we look forward to, something we can do. And that's what I'm here for, to convince you you can do it. And Once you start believing that, visualizing it, thinking about that, you'll have a much better chance of actually getting there. So listen to what James Allen says. To desire is to obtain. To aspire is to achieve. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. Right? This is a huge stumbling block for us when we're afraid to quit drinking or afraid of failure. And I meet women all the time who say, I don't know if I can. And that's exactly where I was. I just couldn't imagine my life without alcohol. And that means I couldn't live without alcohol. We have to start believing that we can. As he says, dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. So even if you're still struggling, even if you haven't been able to give up alcohol, start believing that you can, because you can. It's absurd to think others can do it, but I can't. That is not true. So we have to start believing that we can. He even says this, your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not remain so if you only perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. Your circumstances may be uncongenial. In other words, things may suck right now, okay? He's saying that. Things may suck. But they won't remain that way if only we are able to perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. And to strive to reach it, we've got to be willing to think about it and visualize it and start believing that we can actually have it. And then, gals, in the next section, Alan tells the story of a young man working in a factory. And it turns out he's actually talking about himself, even though he tells this story in the third person. This is kind of interesting. The story of James Allen itself is interesting. He was born into a family of just working class family in England, and his father decided that he was going to go to America to make his fortune. So he got himself on a ship and he went and he told the family, I will send for you as soon as I've made some money and I'll bring you over to the United States. And he was in New York for 2 days and he was mugged, robbed, and murdered, and his body left in a back alley, his pockets picked clean. I know, right? So when the Allen family back home got news of this, the thing to remember is that James Allen's father had big plans for James Allen, that he saw in his son an intellectual and spiritual possibilities that he wanted to nurture. But all of a sudden his dad's dead and the family's going to starve. So at 15, James Allen had to go work in a factory. Now I want you to imagine a factory in the 1890s. This is right. I mean, there's no unions, there's no protection. And so there he is slaving away in this factory. Well, listen to what he says in this section. As I say, he speaks about this in the third person, but it's not. It's about him. He says, here is a youth hard pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled and lacking all the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence or refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of, mentally builds up an ideal condition of life. The wider liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action, and he uses all his spare time and means to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon, so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mindset that it falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside. What he's saying here is that if we start to imagine a future and believe in that future and live mentally and emotionally in that future, our life, our world around us has no choice but to change. And there he is, trapped in this workshop, working long hours, doing menial, thoughtless, hopeless labor. And the whole time he's dreaming of this intellectual life. So much so that, as he says, the workshop could no longer hold him. And opportunities came to him in amazing ways. He ended up writing for the rest of his life, publishing a magazine, and writing several books. So he's showing us by example. And then I found an interesting thing in Wikipedia about this. After his death, James Allen's wife continued to publish a magazine that he had founded called The Epoch. And after his death, she wrote this: He never wrote theories or for the sake of writing, but he wrote when he had a message, and it became a message only when he had lived it out in his own life and knew that it was good. Thus he wrote facts, which he had proven by practice. So everything that James Allen is writing here, he proved in his own life. He didn't just write what he had heard about, he proved it first in his own life. What does that mean, gals? This is a quiz. Who knows the answer? Because I know you know the answer. It proves that James Allen was not a surface dweller. He didn't just hear stuff or read stuff or learn stuff. He lived it, and then he shared it. And this is how I try and do my snippets. I lived my whole life on the surface, just spewing information. I've told you that before. I was educated and I'd read something and then I'd talk about it as if I knew all about it, but I didn't know it because I hadn't lived it. And now I only teach and I only talk about stuff that I've experienced. That's why when women come to me and say, "Can you teach me how to moderate my drinking?" I have to say no, because I don't know how. I could never do it. I don't know how to do it, and I can't teach you how to do it. Anyway, to stay back on track, the whole point here, in terms of where we're at in the essay, or I should say in this section of the book, is that we need to dream the life we want before it will materialize in our lives. And gals, honestly, for us, that just means we need to be able to envision, imagine, and believe in a life without alcohol that we are at peace with and living joyously without constantly struggling. Start to imagine that. Imagine that, believe that, and you will be able to create it in your life. It will show up for you if you believe in it. In this section, James Allen does not pull his punches. Listen to this. Here's what he says. The thoughtless, the ignorant, and the indolent, seeing only the apparent effects of things and not the things themselves, talk of luck, of fortune, and chance. Seeing a man grow rich, they say, "Oh, how lucky he is." Observing another become skilled intellectually, they exclaim, "How highly favored he is." And noting the saintly character and wide influence of another, they remark, "Oh, how chance has helped him at every turn." They do not see the trials and failures and struggles which these men have encountered in order to gain their experience. They have no knowledge of the sacrifices they have made, of the undaunted efforts they have put forth, of the faith they have exercised so that they might overcome the apparently insurmountable and realize the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heartache. They only see the light and joy, and they call it luck. Gals, this is a struggle. It is. Our journey to sobriety requires us to decide we're going to live our lives differently and go on a journey of self-discovery. I sit over here with 7 years of sobriety, and at this point, it really is easy for me not to drink, and I'm thoroughly enjoying my life of growth. My whole life is a journey of self-discovery. But let me tell you, I didn't just fall into this place where I am. There was the struggle, the apparently insurmountable struggle, as James puts it, that I had to go through to get here. So we not only want to visualize our lives, but recognize that the journey itself can be difficult, but it can also be inspiring, and it's worthwhile. We have to recognize when things get difficult, this is just part of my journey. This is just part of the journey. It's okay if I'm struggling today. Anybody who's ever accomplished anything worthwhile has struggled to get there. We don't get things just given to us. And here's what James says. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results. The strength of the effort is the measure of the result. Chance is not. Gifts, powers, material, intellectual, and spiritual possessions are the fruits of effort. They are thoughts completed, objectives accomplished, visions realized. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by. This you will become. Isn't that beautiful? That's the end of this section. James Allen says to us, visualize your dream, place it in your heart, believe in it, and you will realize it. And gals, I'm here to tell you that he's right. I speak from experience, and I'm so glad that I can say that, and you can say the same. Imagine your future, believe in your future, get excited about your future, and start your journey today, because it is a worthwhile journey despite the struggles along the way. And if you'd like some help on that journey, the Sacred Mirror is open. What is the Sacred Mirror? It's a simple online form, private, only comes to me where I ask you a couple of simple questions. You share a little bit of your story, and I respond by turning on this microphone and sending you back a reflection. Not advice, not a sales pitch, a reflection. Here's what I'm hearing you say. And we really need an objective second person who can reflect back to us our own journey. It's part of the process. And I invite you today to tap that link in the show notes. Give me a little bit of your story and let me give you a sacred reflection in return. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back next time so I can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.